In 2025, Jordan Brand reported $7 billion in revenue. Now, to put that in perspective, that is roughly a quarter of Adidas, the whole entire company of Adidas. And Jordan Brand by itself was close to the $9 billion reported by New Balance. And the craziest thing is the man behind Air Jordan, Jordan Brand, has not played professional basketball in over 2 decades. Michael Jordan barely does any interviews. He barely is in any news cycle. But for some reason, to this day, no athlete, basketball or not, has come close to sniffing the success that Jordan Brand is experiencing. And I wanted to dig into some of the reasons why, and perhaps the reasons that I came up with are not like the obvious ones. Obviously, you have to have charismatic and kind of legendary Hall of Fame type of players to replicate the success, but I don't think the issues actually are due to a lack of talent. I think there are just some societal factors that make it a lot harder for an athlete of 2026 to be able to replicate the same success that Michael Jordan did. So as popular as LeBron James is, as Steph Curry is, probably the most popular NBA athlete of the past few generations, his brand, at least when he was with Under Armour, just doesn't really come close to Jordan Brand at all. Now, real quick, I have recently turned on YouTube memberships. It is $2.99 a month. I'm going to try post more behind the scenes, kind of photos or videos or clips, and you'll be able to view every video that I upload as soon as it is uploaded. So before anyone else, it is honestly just another way to support me. This is a money-losing hobby. It is something I enjoy doing. So if you've liked this video, if you liked any of my past videos, I would greatly appreciate it. If you don't, I appreciate you all nonetheless, but please like and subscribe at least. And these reasons aren't really in any particular order, but the first one I think may be kind of surprising to some people, but I think just the landscape of celebrity in 2026 is very different. So back in the day, if you remember, 2 big names that really made Jordan Brand and Jordan sneakers kind of propel into mainstream culture and pop culture was Will Smith and Spike Lee. Without Will Smith ripping Jordans in Fresh Prince, without Spike Lee's stamp of approval, Air Jordans may never have seen the success that we know it to be in 2026. But I think broadly back then, celebrities were just something else. There's been like discussions on different like pop culture and movie kind of podcasts that in 2026, real movie stars just no longer exist. Now, if you're too young to remember what a movie star was like back in the 90s, I'm only going to talk about the 90s because that's when I grew up. But movie stars back then had like a certain type of mystique and just certain weight to them. So when they put on a pair of sneakers, it just meant something different than if a famous person wore something in 2026. People like Will Smith, Tom Cruise, when they appeared in the movie, it was over, it was done. It was like, count the cash, this is going to be a huge hit, everyone's going to go see that movie. It was just completely different. Now we have a lot of famous people, of course, but a lot of the famous people are influencers, and generally influencers kind of exist within a niche. They are very like loyal and large audiences, but a lot of times within a niche. Like take gaming for example. The only video games that I really kind of partake in are fighting games. Anything outside of that, I have no idea who kind of the influencers are. But there are huge video game influencers in that kind of particular niche, but they just do not carry the same type of celebrity status as like the celebrities back in the 90s. Even like the movie stars of today. So you have like Zendaya, Timothée Chalamet, people like that. Are we really supposed to believe them wearing certain sneakers are going to propel that certain sneaker into just evergreen mainstream success? I just don't think so. And let me remind you, this is what people were reacting like when they saw Michael Jackson live. They were fainting. They were literally losing their mind when they saw this guy on stage. Compare that to the biggest global superstar now, probably Taylor Swift. She's very, very popular, breaks a lot of records, but are people kind of reacting the same way to her as when they did when Michael Jackson was at the peak of his popularity? I don't think so. And I actually just think that's a huge reason why certain athlete sneakers just has not completely broken into the stratosphere of just evergreen success. There is no like 90s era Will Smith endorsing a sneaker, making it cool, making it mainstream. making it part of pop culture. I just don't think anyone has that kind of pull anymore. Even the most kind of influential collaborator right now with Jordan Brand, Travis Scott, all his shoes sell out. But 20 years from now, do we really think that Jumpman Jack will have the kind of global effect that Jordan Brand does? Again, I'm very doubtful. The closest we've come to in recent memory is Kanye West, but he wasn't a musician, kind of endorsing an athlete's shoe. He was a musician with his own signature shoe. And a related point to this was in the 90s, early 2000s, media was very unified. You would watch the same people do the same things or in the same type of interviews at the exact same time. Even if you weren't a fan of basketball or Michael Jordan, because of how media worked back then, a lot of people around the country had to sit through segments of Michael Jordan highlights, his interviews, just to get to the next program that they're waiting for. It's completely different. Media now is hyper fragmented. The algorithms will feed you what you're actually interested in. Someone that doesn't care about basketball will probably, likely, almost 99% never ever see a clip of a LeBron James interview, a Steph Curry interview, never. So the reach has split in so many different ways that just wasn't a thing back in the 90s. And that's another huge reason. And the second reason, this is more of an obvious one, basketball sneakers now have just come a long way. They have been optimized for performance. The technology used a lot of times, like Flywire, mesh, they just don't really look that good when you wear it like off court, because they figured out what really works. And in order to sell a basketball shoe that's primarily used for performance, it has to look a certain way or be shaped and built a certain way. And this kind of resulted in a lot of signature shoes looking very similar. Caitlin Clark, her first shoe, kind of looks like KD's. The Sabrina's that I love, honestly, just kind of look like Kobe's. AE1 was actually an exception that looked very different to whatever we've seen in the past few years, but I wouldn't say that would really translate that well off court. Like, I don't see people wearing AE1s just casually at the mall or something. But you compare that to the early Jordans. Jordan 1s look very different to the Jordan 2s, look very different to the Jordan 3s. The 4s look kind of similar, but then the 5s look completely different to anything before, the 6s, and so on and so on. And the materials used on those shoes, primarily leather, just lends itself much better to casual use. And I think that's just kind of a limitation that athletes now have to deal with. Like, they have to use certain materials to get the best performance on court. But because of that, it kind of limits the versatility of said shoe. I'm not really sure what the best solution is around that. I just think like synthetic materials, textiles, mesh, whatever it is, we'll just never see as something that looks good when you're just walking around casually going to a semi-formal event. It just looks a particular way that does not translate well. And the third reason I'm going to give, this is probably a little unexpected, but I do think it has some effect on how successful an athlete's signature shoe can be. And it's the polarization that we live in today. According to the Pew Research Center, we are the most polarized since the Civil War. That's an insane stat in 2026. And algorithms, honestly, has just sped run our polarization. People are going to have certain ideas. The algorithm is going to feed them more things, more videos, more clips, more articles that reinforce their beliefs already. And the polarization just continues to grow wider and wider and wider. And why does that matter? Because nowadays, if an athlete doesn't want to talk about anything controversial, journalists, reporters, they're going to ask them about that topic regardless, because they know whatever the athlete says is going to generate clicks, generate virality, so they almost have to ask them. And that answer is going to get replayed over and over again on different media channels, and it's going to be part of the discourse, and then that group of people that are going to be pissed off are going to view that athlete as someone they don't want to support. Take Caitlin Clark, for example. Whatever you think about her, as far as I understand, she has never said anything that's even remotely controversial. She stayed away from all of it. But the discourse around her is bonkers. It's ridiculous. So how does an athlete in today's world, with all the talent, all the charisma in the world, try to beat that? They can't. They're just going to have to face questions that are gonna just piss off maybe half of the country. And I think it's just an incredibly hard position to be in. I think Michael Jordan, the most controversial statement he ever made back in the day was something like Republicans buy sneakers too. But I just feel like back then it wasn't as polarized as it is now. If some athletes said that today, the discourse would be insane. The inflammatory comments, just the anger people would feel toward that athlete it's just going to hurt their image to that group of people. Now, I've always believed that Michael Jordan will be the greatest player that's ever existed in my lifetime, but I don't have any doubts that someone will come along and surpass him, because that's just how sports evolve. There's always going to be someone greater that passes the former GOAT. But when it comes to Jordan Brand, I just think the factors that go into producing an evergreen, long-lasting mainstream success in a signature shoe, I just think the landscape of society now has changed too much for any athlete, no matter the talent, to be able to replicate it. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Stolen Client. Let me know what you think of Jordan Brand's success. Do you think any athlete will be able to replicate it? If so, who and why? Like, subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. And remember, tomorrow may never come, so wear your shoes.